Hey everyone, and welcome to SkillCapped. My name is Dr. Zora, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down 5 pro tips that will help you absolutely dominate with Reyna. At first glance, Reyna seems like a pretty straightforward agent without much room for advanced tricks due to the simplicity of her abilities. However, there is way more to this agent than meets the eye, and only those who have grinded Reyna for hours and hours on end have learned the ins and outs of taking her kit to another level. And lucky for you, we're going to save you that time and show you those tricks right here and now. So without further ado, let's jump right on into it and get you playing Reyna like a god. Starting off, we're going into our question of the day: which agent are you currently maining in Valorant? If you come to this video, it's likely you're a player who's looking to main Reyna, or perhaps Reyna is your backup agent in case your main is taken, so you drop by here to learn some more tricks to help you play her better. Either way, we are expecting some bias towards Reyna for this question, but we believe there's also some other players that are maining other agents, so drop by just to learn some other agents. We're curious who the most popular agent is at the moment, so make sure you drop those comments down below before we get into today's tips. First up, if you are playing Reyna, one tip that can really help your play is taking advantage of high ground. The reason high ground is so valuable on an agent like Reyna is it really opens the door for her to play around with her leers. We see this all the time with Reyna players where they utilize their flash in a very straightforward manner. They either throw it right in front of them or they try to throw it high or low. All pretty standard stuff, but the issue that comes from this is that the leers become very predictable and easy to get rid of. On low ground, you really only have those options that we stated, but it's when we take flight and increase the height in which we're playing that we have more vertical variety that we can throw those leers. For example, Icebox is one map that has several high angle positions like the top of containers on the B and A sites. From here, you can throw a flash even higher than you normally could from low ground, thus forcing the enemies to have to aim higher to take them out. This then causes them to take more time adjusting their aim, while you and your team can peek in and whip them out. The same goes for throwing leers further down. From the top of containers, you can still throw a leer to the floor, which again forces the enemy team to have to aim low while you peek from a high angle that will be difficult for the enemy to flick back to. This next clip is going to showcase Asuna from 100 Thieves using this trick. He plays at the top of containers on A like we mentioned and throws a low leer down. This ends up blinding the players on pipes, they get occupied trying to shoot it out, which gives Asuna the time to peek and get a very easy kill when utilizing agents with high mobility such as Jet and Raze. With players occupied with the off angle leers, this gives even more room for Raze to double satchel in or for Jet to use their knives and updraft in for a surprise peek before the enemy has time to try to even shoot them. Speaking of surprise peeks, if you want to learn how to play mind games with your enemies and surprise them with masterful strategic play, then you absolutely want to go to skillcapped.com to unlock our hyper improvement system that will teach you everything you need to blast through the rankings in Valorant. The link will be provided in the description below. Next up is a simple tip, but one that we actually haven't seen that many guides talking about, and as a result, we've seen many players making some crucial errors in their Reyna play. With Reyna's leer, if you keep it at a level angle or high up in the air, the leer has a specific distance that it will shoot out at. There's no way for you to bring the leer closer or further like you could with an Omen smoke. This makes it very tricky at times to get a proper flash out, as there are cases where we've seen players throw their flash too far out where it actually ends up going behind the enemy, in which they don't end up getting blinded and then they end up taking you out. However, there is a way to actually aim leer so that it shoots closer to you. You can't make it any further than what it is, but if you aim your mouse down towards the ground, you can throw the leer closer in. This then allows you to have a higher chance of landing the flash in front of the enemy to ensure that they get blind and you can go for the kill. If you change the horizontal angle of the flash as well, this will force the enemy to have to adjust their crosshair significantly to shoot it down, which gives you an even bigger advantage in the fight. This will be the optimal way to throw a desired close range flash. Now you can also throw a flash behind you as well, however this tends to be a bit more awkward and requires you to have to flick back quickly and readjust your aim to get the frag. Placing it more towards the ground and mixing up the horizontal positioning is just as difficult or even more difficult for the enemy to deal with, while giving you less work for you to do to peek afterwards for the kill. Moving into our third tip, we're going to switch things up a bit and talk about Reyna's ultimate Impress. Now if you played Reyna before, you're likely used to what her ultimate does and some common ways that players will use it. For example, a common way that players will utilize Reyna is going for hyper aggressive plays for kills and quickly dismissing out after every single fight. A great way to go for those big boy plays and carry your team through the round. However, the problem that arises at times is that players will go a bit too crazy with their ultimate, in which they go in without any information, thus making it very hard for them to find a player quickly and get a kill. In these situations, we recommend trying to actually play the round slower and go for one-on-one duels. If that duel is won, then that's the time to go in for the aggressive plays with Dismiss. However, this time around, we're going to use Dismiss to actually search for players rather than trying to reposition for more kills. This is much more ideal when you don't have as much information to work off of. Reyna's Dismiss is a perfect way to gather intel on enemy positions. From there, you know exactly where to throw a leer to follow up a peek, or you know where to pre-aim your crosshair so that when you peek out, you're going to be at the enemy's head, and then one click, boom, they're dead. The advantage of doing this is for that advantage of being able to pre-aim and prepare a tactic ahead of time. Yes, the enemy will know where your position is once you get out of the Dismiss, but it's not all that simple to the enemy perspective. perspective. When the enemy first hears the dismiss, they're likely going to question where they're dismissing to. As a result, they're preparing themselves to adjust to an off angle that's different than where you just were. In this technique, you're going to actually go back to where you were positioned, which can actually throw them off. This, along with being able to know where the enemy is and peek when you want to, gives you much greater odds of winning the follow-up fight after using dismiss. The enemy has to adapt their timing to you while you get to dictate the play. This next tip is a bit tricky to pull off, but when done properly, it can absolutely dominate players. Reyna's Leer is mainly meant for blinding enemies, but it can also block and blind agent abilities. For example, Reyna's blind is powerful enough to block a Rey's ultimate. Now the aim is definitely hard to pull off here, as the Leer has to be placed exactly where the Rey's ultimate is going to go, but if a Rey's is going for a long range rocket, it can be a worthwhile way to block her up and give her one more thing to worry about. Either the rocket gets blocked or Rey's gets blinded trying to go in for a play, making it easier for you to get the kill and for her to miss. Reyna's Leer is also a great way to blind other abilities and be a hindrance. For example, when jet knives are up, throwing a Leer will force her to have to waste her knives to wipe it out. It takes 2 knives to eliminate a Leer, which is going to leave her with 3 knives and forcing her to have to be even more accurate than she already was trying to be. That, or she's going to have to switch to her main weapon and shoot it down, which is going to take up even more time, in which you can then peek and go for the kill. We found that Reyna's Leer also works against other informational abilities such as Cypher's camera and Silva's owl drone. It doesn't work too well with owl drone, however with spy cam we found a unique use for it. With these abilities blinded, players can sneak their way past the enemy's defenses without the enemy knowing how many players are present. The unique aspect of this is that Leer also distorts noise so that you can't hear footsteps, meaning that players can push partway through to the site before Cypher can call it out to their team. This slows down the rotations and gives you more time to push. Last but not least, we have our 5th tip. Reyna's Dismiss is commonly used for repositioning yourself after a pick, or if you've seen the previous tip, you can also use it to go for informational plays. With this 5th tip though, we have a 3rd way to utilize Dismiss, and that is to escape other agent abilities. Let's say we're stuck in a situation where the enemy Rey's is about to go guns blazing with her showstopper. If there's an easy escape route, then this is going to be the obvious choice. However, there are certainly many cases where you simply can't run away. Rather than accepting your death, you can try to go for a dismiss play that can help you dodge that ability. For example, rather than playing passively and awaiting your death, you can go for the aggressive play. There are going to be times where the enemy's teammates are going to try to help Rey's out, which works out perfectly in your favor. If you peek out aggressively and go for a kill onto them, this opens up the door for you to use Dismiss, which will cause Rey's showstopper to go right through you. Add on to the fact that Rey's has a slight delay before she can pull out her weapon, and either you or your teammates should be able to go back in to kill her off. Reyna's Dismiss can slip through most abilities, including the Spike's AoE explosion. If you find yourself just short of time to get away from a Spike before it detonates, or the enemy threw a sneaky Molotov to block you off, then triggering Dismiss will help give you that extra invulnerability to cover just a bit more ground to avoid getting killed. A good trump card to pull off in the heat of the moment that could play dividends to your team's economy. Alright, if you haven't already, make sure to drop a comment on who your current main agent is in Valorant. Is it Reyna or is it someone that we're not expecting? Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get more premium guides just like this one with one goal in mind, helping you become a better player. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next. I'm Dr. Zora, and good luck out there.